days ago, Ben Cherington spoke the following, quote, "Coming into the year and still today, we have felt that what's best for Oneil Cruz and what's best for the Pirates were the same thing. Play shortstop. Because if he can, at a high enough level, and produce offensively at the level that we think he's capable of, well, that's just a unique thing to have." End quote. Oh my. Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of the other two teams in town that I cover, the Steelers and the Penguins, and I hope you'll take the time to check those out as well. Cubs 18, Pirates 8 last night at PNC Park, and somehow it was still the second most embarrassing thing to happen to the franchise on the day. Because earlier, first through a Derek Shelton announcement and then through a Cherington meeting with reporters, it was made known that the team is going to transition, their word, not mine, Cruz from shortstop to center field, a position that he most recently played in 2000 and never. He's going to DH for a while. He did that in the debacle last night while he learns how to play center field in late August. And he was so tickled by this move by the organization that Cherington went out of his way to let everyone know that it's going to take him some time to get over this, presuming he does get over it. Also, that Cruz made clear that he wouldn't be speaking with reporters until before the game that'll be played tonight. Time to cool off. I don't blame him. And I don't blame anybody who looks at the way this team bungles development up and down the ladder, but doubly so with position players. And the funny thing is, there isn't even a consistent pattern with how they go about the bungling. Let me elaborate on that a bit. They're all really, really, really into the positional versatility thing. That's a Shelton preference. Makes the manager's job easier. That alone, I've believed for a long time, has contributed to this team's very obvious, and at times, like all the stolen bases last night, glaring shortcoming in fundamentals. Jack of all trades, master of none. That's what this organization's filled with when it comes to position players. Everybody's a utility player. And then there's the case of Henry Davis, who was brought back up yesterday. We all know about his offensive struggles now, but don't forget that a year ago, they were sticking him in right field and embarrassing him night after night after night. Also, a position he'd never played until arriving in the majors, except for a couple of games here and there in the minors. Number 1 overall prospect. That's how they handled him. Did that have any kind of impact on the bats or whatever? I don't know. I'm not Henry's psychiatrist, but I'm going to guess it didn't help. And then there's Cruz, who they've been telling for years now, including when they inherited him in the system from the Neil Huntington trade, that he's going to stick at shortstop, that he's going to be that guy who adds that unusual value to the lineup. The same stuff I just read to you at the outset of this episode from 8 days ago. The number of opportunities that this management's had to put Cruz in a more conventional position, at a more conventional age, at a more conventional stage of his development is innumerable. The worst possible time to have done it is after the kid spent a full year recovering from that awful ankle injury, after they'd all committed throughout, yes, he's going to be a shortstop. Yes, he's going to be a shortstop. No, we don't need to move him off short to help him manage that ankle, which is going to remain an issue with him. There's a metal rod in there, and we've seen what it looks like when he's uncomfortable with it. Had he been standing in center field all this time awaiting 4 or 5 at the most chances to play a baseball in his direction, I'm guessing that would have accelerated a lot of different things with him. As it is, he put in the work, he put in the passion, and oh, by the way, he's produced. I know everybody complains about this and that related to his fielding, and a lot of that's justified. Not all of it, but a lot of it is. But the one thing you can't take away from him is that he's really hit. So yeah, his reaction today is going to be interesting. And that could be in either direction, meaning if he says, yeah, this is awesome, I'm really happy about this, then we'll know that they're very, very good at training these players to say what they want. If he speaks his actual mind, and I'm telling you this as someone who knows very well how much the shortstop position means to him, then he's going to make some headlines. Either way, and more important than any of that, management's devalued another asset, yet another asset. They've taken found gold, meaning a rare Huntington win on a trade that, again, they inherited, and they've turned it into the absolute least that they could have gotten out of him from the positional/defensive standpoint. Way to go, guys. Another real feather for you there. When we come back, J1Q. This portion of Daily Shot of Pirates is brought to you by our friends at North Shore Tavern. That's directly across Federal Street from PNC Park. It's home of Steak on a Stone, an eating experience, underscoring the word experience. The steak is brought to you partially cooked on an 800-degree stone, and you do the rest. It's a ton of fun, it's a great meal, and it's a baseball atmosphere like no other in Pittsburgh. North Shore Tavern, right across Federal Street from PNC Park.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragecheck.org. That's gunstoragecheck.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q comes from Brandon, who listens to this show on Spotify. Brandon says, why does it seem like teams are stealing so many bases against the Pirates now? It feels like there's a tell or something out there, and like everyone's running on them. Is it certain pitchers? Is it the catchers? Is it the team's approach as a whole with where the fielders tend to play? Actually, Brandon, you asking this after the Cubs stole eight bases last night at PNC Park. I'm going to say that one more time, because you can't let these guys and their incompetence normalize things like 18 runs being given up, 8 stolen bases conceded, or last week out on the West Coast, 14, 15, 16 hitters striking out in a game. That's not okay. That's not, oh, well, we didn't have it that day. The reason the teams run on the Pirates, Brandon, and believe it or not, I'm not seizing the opportunity here to take some kind of cheap shot. It's just going to sound like it, is that they don't give a crap. It's not an important thing to them. It's not something that they focus on. It's not something that they prioritize. A decision was made at the way upperest level of this management group a couple of years ago that pitchers didn't need to be distracted by trying to hold the runners on. Now, this was even before pitch clock came in and you were only allowed to make X number of throws to first base. They just said, heck with it. Our analytics show us that stolen bases aren't anywhere near as important as people make them out to be. It's far more important for the pitcher to concentrate on the hitter, for the catcher to concentrate on the hitter and record the out that's in front of you instead of the out that's off to the side of you or behind you. Now, I neither know nor care whether these analytics are accurate or whether they were a case of somebody being overly clever, but I do know that for a century and a half of this great game, pitchers and catchers did find a way to manage both, as did the infielders. Whereas now, when somebody takes off, you're liable to see one of three things happen before somebody gets into even a close play at second base. 1, the pitcher will have fallen asleep. 2, the catcher can't throw. 3, the infielder can't put down a good tag. And somewhere in there, by the way, this happens so much now that nobody even really mentions it anymore. The ball's going to end up in center field. Have you noticed this? How many of these throws end up all the way out in center field? Because the other infielder can't back up anymore? Because of shifts? I don't know. But look, for as much as baseball changes, it's still about bases. Hence the name of the sport, baseball. And the more bases you give away, the better the chance that the other guys are going to score more runs because they'll have touched more bases. I know this isn't the answer you want, but this is the answer that you need, because this is where it started. Yes, can you blame Yasmani Grandal or any other catcher, and there's a lot of them right now across the majors, who can't get people out anymore? Can you blame the pitchers? Can you even blame, to an extent, the pitch clock and the pickoff limit? Sure, all of that. But you don't just punt on it. You don't just say, it's not important. Just keep your eyes on your own paper and get the batter out. Oh, boy. Hey, you were the one that came here today. All I did was hand out the invite. You could have said no. I appreciate the question, Brandon. I appreciate everybody who hears us on Spotify and everywhere else, and we'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.